Hey guys, welcome to my Holy Pally healing guide for Legion, patch 7.0.3. Now in this guide, I will be going over your talents, your spells and abilities that are relevant to healing, your artifact traits and pathing recommendations, and then stat priorities, and then just your healing rotation, if you will, and a demonstration of that in a dungeon since raids are not out yet, and then just macros and add-ons you can use to help yourself out. Let's go ahead and get started with your talents. Now in your first tier, you're going to want Bestow Faith. By default, generally, Bestow Faith is just a short cooldown heal, and it's a delayed heal. So after 5 seconds, it will heal for a significant amount. So it's not a hot, it doesn't heal during the time, but it kind of expires and heals. And it's really nice for single target healing, and it of course heals your beacon target as well. Now you can take Light's Hammer if you're taking sustained AoE damage, so this is kind of a nice talent for that. You just throw a hammer on the ground. But if your raid is moving a lot, so they're moving out of it, then it's probably not that great, or if they're not stacked. So in situations where you might be stacked and taking constant damage, Light's Hammer can be a viable alternative. Crusader's March is really not that great. One, it puts you in melee, and with the talent at level 100 that I recommend, that's kind of not a good thing, because you're losing out on potential healing. Plus, you're spending globals on Crusader Strike, which is generally not worth it, because you'd rather be spending it on other stuff like casting Holy Light, or other healing spells like Holy Shock, and so on. So generally Bestow Faith by default, and then Light's Hammer if you need it for that constant AoE heal during that cooldown. Level 30, generally up to you, kind of what you want here. At this point, I do like Rule of Law a little bit for situations in which you might be spread out from your targets, because it increases the range of your heals, which is nice, but more importantly, it increases the reach of your mastery. And we'll get into exactly what that is, but basically, the closer you are to someone, the more you heal them. So this allows you to be a little further from them and still get your full extra healing from Mastery on, and it's actually an active ability. It's not passive. You do have to activate it. It's got 2 charges on a 30-second cooldown. That's really nice if you get spread out at some point during a fight. Now you can take Unbreakable Spear for more personal survivability. Just reduce the cooldown on some of your spells, and so this can be pretty nice as well. And then Cavalier you can use, I suppose, if you really need the extra movement, the extra charge of your Divine Steed. Generally, probably not as useful right now, but it is there, so kind of whatever fits your situation and needs. Level 45 is all CC, so completely up to you. Fist of Justice just reduces the cooldown on your hammer, your stun, by 10 seconds every time you use it. Repentance is like a polymorph of sorts or a sap. It breaks on damage, but you can CC certain targets with it. And then Blinding Light is like an AoE disorient, so again that will break on damage, it only lasts a few seconds. So kind of up to you what you like here. Now level 60, we've got 2 choices. You've either got Aura of Mercy or Devotion Aura. Now Aura of Sacrifice, just as a quick mention, not really worth it. The effects are pretty underwhelming. They're not spectacular. First of all, it drops, you kind of soak up a bunch of damage, which sucks, and as soon as you go below 75%, you don't get any benefit from it. And considering you're taking extra damage from people around you, that's not going to last very long. And then the effect itself, when you pop Aura Mastery, is just not that great versus the other two. Now, Aura of Mercy restores health to 3 people around you in a really small radius. And when you pop Aura Mastery, then everyone in that radius, a 10-yard radius around you, gets the full healing. And the healing is doubled. So this has a really nice passive effect. And the active effect with Aura Mastery is actually not bad. Although, for Devotion Aura, I kind of like the active part of it, where when you pop Aura Mastery, you reduce 20% damage for everyone in that little circle around you, which generally I find better. I do like damage reduction more than constant healing, but the passive part of Devotion Aura I find to be weaker because it splits this 20% damage reduction over how many people are in the group. So if you have like 3 people splitting this Devotion Aura, then you're only getting like 6% damage reduction, which is pretty minimal, and the more people there are, the less effect you get. It's kind of up to you what you want to take here between those two. Aura of Mercy, I like the passive heal on it more, but the active, I do like Devotion Aura more. It's kind of up to what you need. If you really need an extra damage cooldown, then Devotion Aura is your go-to, and if you just need some more healing, then Aura of Mercy is probably for you, so kind of up to what you need and what your raid asks for. Now level 75, generally, Holy Prism is going to be your go-to. It's a pretty short cooldown, 20 seconds, so not super long. And generally you'll be using it to hit an enemy, so you'll target an enemy, use it, and then it'll split off the heals to a bunch of people, which is way more effective for healing than using it on a single person, which then radiates damage to enemies. But you can use it however you want. It's a nice constant heal that you can have pretty often for little spikes of AoE damage. But if you really need an extra cooldown for an encounter, then Holy Avenger is quite good. It's a 1.5-minute cooldown, you get extra haste, and your Holy Shock healing is increased significantly for 20 seconds. It's a pretty long cooldown as well. So if you really need another cooldown, you can use this instead. And Divine Purpose just doesn't really hold up to the other two, and it's more RNG based, meaning you won't get your on-demand heals, which is kind of dangerous when you're healing, especially like progression fights, where you need to know if you have extra heals or not. Now, level 90, generally you're going to want Judgment of Light. Now, if somebody else in the raid can bring Judgment of Light to the raid team, i.e. other Holy Paladins or Prot Paladins, then you don't need to take this. But what it does is when you Judgment a target, it applies this debuff on them, and for 40 stacks or 40 attacks, whoever attacks him gets healed for some of their health, and it's really quite good for a raid encounter. So generally for raids, and when there's like just one target, so everyone's hitting it, so you're getting the full benefit of it, but you only need one. So if someone else is taking care of this, or you're in a smaller thing like a dungeon or something, or world content, you can take Sanctified Wrath. That just buffs your Avenging Wrath, your wings cooldown. It makes it last longer and reduces Holy Shock's cooldown, so you can get more Holy Shocks out during the time that you have your wings up. It's a really nice cooldown, a really nice buff to it. So if someone already is handling Judgment of Light in your group, you can use Sanctified Wrath instead. Fervent Martyr, just not that great. It kind of helps your mana by reducing the cost of your Holy Light or Flashlight, but it just doesn't hold up to this constant heal for everyone in your raid group that's doing damage, or this buff to your big healing cooldown for yourself, your personal healing cooldown. So level 100, for raids, I generally recommend, and I know we're not there yet, but I do recommend Beacon of the Lightbringer, and it essentially makes it so that your beacon actually affects your mastery as well. And again, mastery is based on basically the closer you are to your target, the more you heal them. So now, with Beacon of Lightbringer, the closer you are or your beacon is to the person, the more they get healed. So essentially what this allows you to do is if your raid is split into like a range section and a melee section, you put a beacon on like a tank, for example, and he's very close to the melee, so they get the kind of full heal benefit from mastery, your mastery. And then you're in the range group, so you're very close to them, so they get the full benefit from your mastery as well. So it kind of increases your heals to basically everyone depending on your positioning, so it really helps out with that. But if you're doing smaller stuff like dungeons, Beacon of Virtue can be quite nice. It just replaces your Beacon of Light. It's a small cooldown, and it replicates the healing you do to your target and 3 other people. So it's really good for dungeons, essentially, with small content, because you get a lot of value out of this. It's kind of like a mini cooldown where you can heal AoE, which is pretty rare for a Holy Paladin. So in a raid, though, you get more benefit out of Beacon of the Lightbringer, but Beacon of Virtue is decent for smaller group content. The Beacon of Faith is just not really worth taking, because you're basically doing 20% extra heals on your second beacon target, and so it just doesn't really hold up to the other 2 talents in terms of throughput. Alright, so those are your talents. Let's go ahead and talk about your spells and abilities as a Holy Paladin. There's not that many in terms of healing spells, but we'll go over those first. So we've got your slow, efficient heal in Holy Light. It's 2 points at 1 second cast, and it heals for a decent amount. And then we've got the quick, expensive version, Flash of Light. So it's heals the same amount, but it's a much shorter cast, and it costs a lot more mana. Then we've got Holy Shock, which is kind of your bread and butter as a Holy Paladin. And it's got a short cooldown on it, and basically you can use it as an offensive ability as well, but generally you'll be healing with it. And when it does a crit, you'll proc your Infusion of Light passive, which makes it so that your next Holy Light is much quicker, or you can use it on Flash of Light to make it heal for 50% more, kind of whatever you need at the time. Then we've got your AoE heal, your Light of Dawn. It's a conal in front of you, and you just cast that and it heals up to 5 things in front of you in a little cone shape for a decent amount. Now we do have an instant spell in Light of the Martyr, and this is a really handy spell to have and definitely one to consider using. You do want to be careful with it. There's a couple of things to consider. It does take some of your health, so for half of the healing that you do, you take that damage. So if it heals for like 100k, you take 50k. So just make sure you don't get yourself killed using it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is it doesn't proc Beacon of Light. So your Beacon of Light, which you put on somebody and they take 40% of the heals that you do to other people, does not get affected by, it doesn't get procced by Light of the Martyr. So you only get the heal that you're healing rather than the heal plus the Beacon heal. So it's really useful in high movement situations. You've got to be running around a lot. As long as you don't kill yourself, and as long as you don't need to be healing the beacon target as well. So it's a very handy spell. I wouldn't recommend using it all the time, like over and over and over as your main spell, but it is there and it definitely has its uses, especially with the buffs from the artifacts. Now speaking of beacon, the do have Beacon of Light, 3-second cooldown, you can put it on whoever you want, generally like a tank or someone who's taken a lot of damage, and just transfer 40% of the healing done to other people to this target, whoever this is put on. In addition, if you're healing that person, then you actually, if you use like Flash of Light or Holy Light on them, then you get refunded 30% of your mana from the cast. So it's more efficient to heal them if you need to spam on them. So just keep that in mind. Then of course we got our cooldowns. So we've got Avenging Wrath, 2-minute cooldown. Pretty simple, increases your healing done significantly, and your critical strike chance as well. So pretty simple, very nice cooldown for yourself. Then we've got Aura Mastery, and Aura Mastery is a 3-minute cooldown, and the effects are based on your level 60 talents here. So if you take Aura of Mercy, it just, again, makes the heal apply to everyone within the 10-yard radius around you instead of just 3 people. And Devotion Aura will do the same thing, but with a 20% damage reduction for everybody in that 10-yard radius around you. Now, with the artifact weapon, there is actually a golden trait that makes Aura Mastery also increase the healing that everyone takes around you by 15%, so that's really, really useful. It makes it a nice cooldown, no matter which talent you take, Aura of Mercy or Devotion Aura. So that's really, really nice, and so this becomes a bigger cooldown for you. Then we also have the artifact weapon ability itself, Tear's Deliverance, 1.5-minute cooldown. It kind of does AoE heals allies around you for a ticking hot every 0.8 seconds right now for me, but basically every second or so. And then these allies, whoever gets healed, also gets a buff so that when you heal them with your Flashlight or Holy Light, they actually take 20% more healing from that. So it's a very, very nice ability to have. Now, as far as movement, of course, we've got your Divine Steed. Basically lets you mount up for 3 seconds, so use that when you need to move quickly from one area to another. And then we do have an offensive ability I just want to make a special mention of called Judgment. And the only reason I mention this is if you are responsible for Judgment of Light, then you will be using this to apply that buff. The other offensive abilities I'm not going to cover because they're not super, super important. As far as defensives go, you do have your Divine Protection, short cooldown, 20% reduction. You've got your Bubble, your Divine Shield, 5-minute cooldown, makes you immune to all damage and CC and everything for 8 seconds. And then we've got Lay on Hands, which is a full health heal, so whatever your health is, mine is like 1.4 million, so it heals for 1.4 million on whoever you choose, 10-minute cooldown. And then we've got your blessings. We've got Freedom to remove roots and snares. You got Protection, and Protection removes all physical debuffs and also prevents all physical damage. But just be aware it does make them lose threat. You can attack with it on now, as opposed to before, but be careful about bopping a tank, because they will lose aggro and that can be really, really awkward. Now, we do have Blessing and Sacrifice, and it's kind of like a cooldown, a defensive cooldown for like a tank or something, but you have to be careful in using it. It's a 2.5-minute cooldown, and what it does is it transfers 30% of the damage they take to you. So they're taking 30% less damage, but you're taking that extra damage on yourself. Just make sure you don't get yourself killed. It won't kill you because it will fall off if you dip below 20%, but it could put you in a really, really dicey situation if you get low and then something else comes by and kills you. And finally, we do have our Dispel, just cleanse. It's your magic dispel for poison, disease, and magic effects, so just use that as you need to. So those are your spells and abilities. Now let's go ahead and talk about your artifact traits and paths you can take. So we've got our cooldown here, Tear's Deliverance. It's a very nice cooldown, and then we branch off from there. Now, I recommend going for Power of the Silver Hand first. It's more constant healing, more of a constant healing buff for you, and it makes your Holy Light and Flashlight sometimes proc a bigger Holy Shock, and the amount that it gets buffed is based on how much damage and healing you do over the next little time window. So you can track that and optimize it, but basically just know that it gives your Holy Shock a bigger heal every so often based on RNG. So it happens pretty naturally and just throughout the fight, which is very, very nice. And you also pick up nice talents like Deliver the Light for just more consistent and bigger healing, and then Vindicator for a bigger Avenging Wrath effect. Now, on the other side, we've got Protection of Tyr, and it basically buffs your Aura Mastery for the 3-minute cooldown that you got there, and it makes it so that all the people within 40 yards of you, when you pop Aura Mastery, now also take extra healing. So it helps buff your Aura Mastery, but since that's only it's a 3-minute cooldown, so it's only up every 3 minutes, I find it to be less consistent than Power of the Silver Hand, so I do recommend going for this first, but you can, if you want to, go this way, of course, if you need and really want that improved Aura Mastery. Now, as far as the last one, Light Saves is kind of... It's a nice little save for like the tank or whoever has your beacon on them. If they dip below 50%, the next Holy Light or Flash of Light on them will be twice as strong, but can only happen once every 30 seconds. So it's like a nice little save. They dip below, for example, they take a huge hit from the boss, and then you pop them up with the Flash of Light, and it does a crap ton of healing. So it's just nice, but I find the other two to be nicer. This for more consistent healing, and this Protection of Tyr for a bigger raid cooldown, which is kind of important. As far as other traits, you kind of pick whatever you like as you go along. Of course, you'll be required to take some of them to get your golden traits. But generally, for things like, for example, Justice Through Sacrifice, if you really like Light of the Martyr for whatever reason, you can take this. I know a lot of people do. I don't personally recommend it since you don't normally use it that much, I find. But if you really, really like it and you find it very, very useful, for example, you could go for this because it does increase the healing done by it, which is pretty cool. Just be aware that should also do more damage to you since you're taking damage based on how much you heal. And other things like Share the Burden to reduce the damage you take from Blessing of Sacrifice, making it easier and safer to use. And then stuff like Shock Treatment, which makes your crits from Holy Shock do more damage or healing. And you crit a lot because it's got improved crit chance, so all these things are quite useful. But generally, I would go for Power of the Silver Hand, then Protection of Tyr, rather, and then finally Light Saves. But I would pick up more useful traits like Expel the Darkness from AoE healing from Light of Dawn, and stuff like that before you grab the Light Saves, since it's not as big an effect. So that's your artifacts and kind of what I would recommend. Of course, you can take whatever you like. You can mess around with things that you find more preferential. I don't recommend resetting your talents, so make sure you plan it out before you kind of spend your time, as it gets harder and harder to level it. But you will get everything in the end, so even if you pick a path that you don't necessarily like, you will be fine. Now let's briefly talk about your stat priorities. It's pretty simple. Critical Strike is your best secondary stat. It has that chance based on your Holy Shot crit, and when that crits you get faster Holy Lights or bigger Flash of Lights, so it's really, really important to have a high crit chance. After that comes Versatility, just for a straight healing buff, and then your Mastery, which basically makes it so that the closer you are to your target, the more your heals do, based on your Mastery. And just remember, if you have Beacon of the Lightbringer, then it also counts as your beacon target as well as you, so whoever's closer will get that bigger buff of healing on people. And after that, Haste is your worst stat. So, Critical Strike, top stat, followed by Versatility, then Mastery, and then Haste. So now let's talk about your healing rotation, if we want to call it that. Now let's kind of go over the priorities of what you would do in different situations. So first, of course, always have your beacon active on whatever target you want to heal. Typically someone who's taking a lot of damage all the time, like the tank, is pretty common, but you can move it around if you need to. Now, basically you're going to be Holy Shocking all the time on cooldown, as much as possible. It's instant, it's cheap, and it does a decent amount, and it can proc that Infusion of Light to make your Holy Light faster or your Flash of Light bigger. Now, after that, for single target, if you got lots of damage coming in, you can Flash of Light. It's inefficient and it's very expensive, but it heals faster and you can pump more heals in, or you can Holy Light if there's less damage or you need to be more efficient with your mana. Now, don't forget, if you took Bestow Faith, you should be using that probably after Holy Shock, but just remember it has that delay before it actually heals. So just be aware of that. If the situation demands like instant healing that needs to be done right away, you might consider using something else instead. That's pretty much it for your kind of single target or two target if you consider the beacon healing. Now if you need to do AoE healing, you're going to be using, if you have Holy Prism, make sure you use that when the damage justifies it, when there's multiple people who've taken damage and you need to heal them up. And then after that you can Light of Dawn. And same thing, you just want to make sure there's enough people that have taken damage and will, receive the healing to make it worth using. And that's pretty much all you have for AoE spells. Now, you do of course have cooldowns. Now, as far as cooldowns go, Aura Master is pretty simple. You can pop it and either use the damage reduction from Devotion Aura if you took that, or the extra healing from Aura of Mercy. Just remember the range is rather small, so make sure you move close to whoever you need to use the cooldown for. And then Wings, your Fervent Wrath, just use that when you need extra healing, pretty simple. Now, Tears Deliverance, I treat it just like an AoE heal, kind of, even though it's not technically an AoE heal, but it just heals injured allies around you every couple seconds, or every second or so, and it makes them take more healing from you, so it's kind of like a little healing buff, if you will, and it does do heals on its own as well. So I treat it like a healing cooldown, a little bit, a mini healing cooldown, if you will. Now, if you took Judgment of Lights, if that's your responsibility in your group, make sure you are using Judgment often enough that the buff Judgment of Lights actually stays on so that people are constantly getting healed by attacking the target. That's pretty much all you have as a Holy Paladin. Now again, Light of the Martyr, use it if you need to be moving a lot, or if you're going to be safe, you're going to be safe, you're moving a lot, and you just want to pick up someone really quickly without spending too much mana, you can use that. Just remember it won't heal your beacon target as well, so you don't get that extra heal off of it. But it can be very, very useful, so use it when you need to. Just make sure you don't get yourself too low into a dangerous situation or anything. Alright, so here I am in a dungeon, and basically I'm using the raid talents that I showed you, so I'm going to start with Judgment to get that Judgment of Light debuff up on him. And then I will Bestow Faith is what I tried to do on the tank. I accidentally hit myself. That's kind of a slip there, but then I'll Holy Shock right away. And there's not much damage, so I'm kind of just chilling here. And I'll reapply Judgment in a second as it comes up, just to keep that buff going. Now, this Breath of Corruption is where damage starts happening, so I'll Holy Shock him, then Bestow Faith. And then Holy Light, because he's not taking a huge amount of damage. Now, Downdraft happens, so I'm going to Rule of Law, try to increase the range as we get split up here of my mastery, so that people are getting healed for more. Quick Holy Shock into Flash of Light, and then I Divine Steed back so I can get closer. Now, I try to heal here. I already Holy Prismed to try to do some AoE heal. I Bestow Faith myself. Holy Shock on cooldown. Tears Deliverance for a little extra cooldown. And Aura Mastery and Wings. Kind of freaked out here. A lot of damage happened I didn't expect. So now I'm just kind of recovering from it. So Holy Shock, Bestow Faith to heal him up, and I'll leave him because he should be fine. And then just Holy Light to kind of calm down again. Now we got Downdraft, so I wanted to use Rule of Law again to increase, there we go, to increase that range of my mastery so people are getting healed for more as stuff is happening. And then we come up with Holy Prism for some AoE heals. I Holy Shock there, Flash of Light for a bigger heal, then Light of Dawn for some AoE. And make sure you're just pointing Light of Dawn, of course, at the people that need the healing to keep it, kind of be aware of where the positioning is. And this whole time, just make sure you're keeping your Judgment debuff up. And it probably fell off a couple times there, but just try to keep it up as much as possible. And so that's pretty much it for this fight. And that's pretty much how you kind of think and react. So just react to the damage that's happening and go from there. So that's a demonstration of how healing will go in a group setting. Now that was a dungeon, of course, because the raids aren't out yet, but same thing in a raid, kind of just more people taking damage and more stuff to watch. Now, as far as macros and add-ons go, I do use a couple of macros, and it's just to kind of bind two spells into one. And I'll link these in the description below as well, but I'll show you them here as well. And what this does is allows me to cast Holy Light if I am, or whatever friendly spell, if I'm targeting a friendly, and if I'm targeting an enemy, the same button will instead use Judgment. So that I can apply Judgment pretty easily without binding another button. It's just kind of convenient for me. Just remember, if you're not targeting anything, it won't do anything because it needs a target, and it won't auto self-target. I do the same thing for Bestow Faith. I just chose this, and Crusader Strike, but again, you don't really use Crusader Strike, and I don't recommend you do, so this is probably the important one to have. But if you wanted to, you just change stuff out. You could change out the Holy Light for whatever beneficial spell you want, like Flashlight or something. And then after harm, you put whatever spell you want. Now, in this case, Judgment is what I would recommend because I'm just using that for Judgment of Light. Now, as far as add-ons go, I am using weak auras pretty lightly on this for this spec. We're just tracking Judgment of Light timer, so I know when it's coming off on the target. If I just target them real quick, I can tell, oh hey, Judgment of Light is coming off in 28 seconds. I don't bother tracking the stacks because I assume the timer is enough just to know if it's coming off or not. And if it's gone, then I know that it has fallen off already. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked it, found it helpful, feel free to like the video. And if you want to keep seeing content like this, and just know when I post new videos, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.